Captain is escaping.
Oh shit, you're not getting away from me, you son of a bitch. Alright, come here. Oh, I've got you. Oh, never mind. Yo, what is up guys, this is Tyrant Swine here, and welcome to another game review. This time I am reviewing Ghost Recon Wildlands, a open world tactical shooter developed and published by Ubisoft. Now, the story of this game is that you are an American Spec Ops team that's been sent into Bolivia to take care of some cartel business. So basically you go around to each area on the map to take care of a cartel big nut, and then eventually make it to the big boss himself. Now, there isn't really much of a story here because if we need to remember, Ubisoft these days don't really make compelling or decent stories anymore. They just basically make a load of crap, well, a load of open world games and then give you a lot of shit to do, but don't give you really a compelling ending to it anyway, because there's not really any fun characters. There's nothing interesting really with the characters in this game. The story isn't interesting. It's kind of boring considering all the exploring you have to. Well, the story is practically boring considering that a lot of the time you're going to be looking for stuff around the place. By the time you get to another story mission or anything like that, it just becomes uninteresting really. But it's not really a surprise, to be honest, considering the amount of Ubisoft games I have played around with recently. Yeah, so it's not a surprise that the story in this game isn't good or existent at all. But there is, in fact, two endings to this game, depending on what you've done, considering. If you didn't collect everything in this game and didn't do everything, then you pretty much will get a bad ending, which pretty much ends up with the person who handles your team ends up killing the guy that you're supposed to kill because apparently the government incarcerated, they basically gave El Sueño, the cartel boss, protection from you. And then the guy who handles you basically kills him, and that's pretty much it. Then there's a good ending, which is apparently where the guy that handles you doesn't kill El Sueño, and then he's just basically taken to the America and helps out with the US government to help out with other terrorist stuff. So yeah, the ending just do not really give me much of an option, don't really give me much closure anyway. But then again, I was not expecting a good story in this game whatsoever. Now, the whole world itself is pretty damn freaking big, and I've got to admit, this is a long ass game. It certainly took me around probably 60 to 70 hours, pretty much. It's a very long game considering if you do everything. If you just do like the story missions, it'll probably take you about probably 20 hours, 24 hours, probably a whole day at least. But if you're doing the whole game, it will definitely take you a long time. And its world is big. It is really big. There is a lot of different environments and stuff like that. There's like a cartel boss or a big figure for each area, apart from a few for some reason. And then there's a bunch of story missions scattered around that you have to do. Basically what you need to do is, when you go into each new area, you need to look for intel from intel caches or lieutenants, so you can then get like the things that are available in the area, like weapon accessories, side missions, skill points, bonus medals, rebel ops, because there is quite a lot of stuff to do in this game, surprisingly enough. Where it fails in story, it definitely delivers on content. But but I don't know if it was too much, to be honest, because it really just did start to freaking drag for me, did this game, the closer I got to the end. And it's pretty much the stuff you find from the intel caches is a bunch of stuff that you pretty much will do over and over again for each area. Whether it's like disabling an antenna, taking out a building full of enemies and then hacking a computer, trying to capture like a sort of a lieutenant and then like threatening him. So yeah, there's pretty much a lot of things to do. There's even convoys you can even take down as well. There is a lot of stuff to do in this game, and I'm gonna just keep saying that because there is. But it's just, the thing is, like I said, it's kind of meh. It's mediocre. It's not entirely fun, but it's not entirely boring. But because it's repetitive, in some cases. I mean, yeah, doing the story missions wasn't too bad because they actually tried to do something to those. Like hell, some of the missions do get a bit harder and harder over time, considering that each section in the game has an escalated difficulty, ranging from 1 to 5 skulls. And then there's like these 4 areas that apparently have no difficulty for some reason, and I have no idea why they have no cartel boss or anything like that. They just seem like extra areas they put in for no reason. But yeah, there was some okay moments in this game, mainly when it comes to playing the game itself, but story-wise and the characters, it really should have done better. But then again, it is Ubisoft, so I don't really know what you should expect from an Ubisoft game these days when it comes to story. Really, what you should be expecting is just disappointment, really. And that's pretty much what I got with the story in this game. Now, let's talk about the mechanics of this game and the gameplay. Surprisingly enough, the mechanics and the gameplay of this game aren't actually too bad, to be honest. It just felt like a sort of a less decent version of Metal Gear Solid 5 for some reason. From the feels that I got. Mainly this is a tactical shooter, so there is tactics involved. So you can either go stealthy, or you can go like all guns blazing. But there are some missions that do require you to basically go in undetected, which I think is a bit of a nice spin on things whenever they do that, but it can be pretty fucking annoying at times considering how some of the position of the enemies is. But yeah, you basically you have like a team with you, depending if you're going online or offline. And if you're offline, you basically have like 3 AI teammates, and they can be pretty damn useful, the AI teammates in this game. One thing I can definitely say is that the friendly AI is certainly decent in this game and will certainly help you out. And with the help of a drone that you have available, that can be also very useful too when it comes to spotting your enemies and even sabotaging some of their things, because there is actually different variants of drones in this game, ranging from explosive to EMP drones to even medic drones that can revive your fallen teammates. And I think these are particularly useful and is a bit of a more different step. And then of course, you also have binoculars, just in case, because there are some jamming towers around which make your drone useless, so you have binoculars to help you out with that situation. And you do have like a skill point system for different areas when it comes to your weapons, your squad, your physicality, and a few other things that basically will help you out with the game. I think they do make an impact, but not too much. And you basically like get XP from like completing missions or finding skill points, which do definitely help out when it comes to doing the side missions. And I think it is quite I think it's definitely worth getting the skills in this game. Otherwise, in some areas you might get pretty messed up. You do obviously you can crouch, you can go prone. There's a lot of stealth involved in this game. You have like a lot of different routes to take when it comes to doing the mission. Because there's also, as the difficulty increases in the game, there's more stuff that is added in, like alarms, jamming towers, anti-aircraft missiles, which can be a pain in the fucking ass. The enemies also start to get a little bit tougher over time. More armor is added on, they have more bigger weapons and stuff like that. So the difficulty does increase over time when it comes to playing the game. I think it's always best to take the stealth route and to always make sure that you know what to do. Otherwise, you might find an enemy that will detect you and basically fuck you over, because it is kind of annoying when they do find you and then trying to get away from them, especially considering when you fail at a side mission or something like that and you have to go all the way back to it just so you can succeed again. This game did sometimes annoy the hell out of me when it came to like trying to complete some of the side missions, especially when it came to retrieving vehicles like the helicopters and the airplanes. Those side missions were a pain in the ass, especially when you got to the tough areas which involved anti-aircraft missiles, and I fucking hated those. But speaking of vehicles, the vehicle mechanics in this game are they're just dreadful. Literally, every time you go around a corner, you could friggin' slip off the edge of a cliff and die. Surprisingly, and the vehicles are weak as shit. Literally, like one slight bump and it is like destroyed. You have like a massive ass bump in there, and it's really stupid. You can make vehicles tougher, but it makes no goddamn difference unless you're in a firefight. When you're driving into an object, it makes no fucking difference. So yeah, it's kind of funny how the helicopters and the airplanes are actually significantly easier to drive compared to cars and trucks, which makes no goddamn sense. Even bikes are stupid to drive with. So yeah, the vehicle mechanics were kind of annoying. But hell, at least the shooting mechanics aren't too bad, to be honest. There is a bit of a sort of a issue with the hit radius. Like sometimes when an enemy is poking out from behind cover, and even when I shoot him, it doesn't hit him, which is kind of annoying, which shows that there is still numerous amounts of glitches and bugs in this game, which are quite obvious in this game, considering I have encountered a few of them myself, but they didn't really make a big massive impact on the game as a whole. They were just some slight niche or something that I encountered. But yeah, you can have like a certain amount of... There is like a lot of weaponry in this game, and I'm kind of surprised there is a shit ton of weapons in this game. Well, so there's quite a lot of assault rifles, SMGs, you have sniper rifles, you have shotguns, and you have LMGs too. You have pistols and submachine guns, well, machine pistols. There is a lot of weaponry in this game, and they all do work very efficiently, especially considering when you put attachments and stuff on them. There is a lot of customization when it comes to the weapons, and I'm really glad to see that. There was a crap ton, like a lot of attachments, like weapon accessories you can put on, like different camos you can put on them, and you can make the weapons look really cool as shit in this game too. And that's what I really like to see. And you can carry it up to 3 weapons at a time, 2 primaries and a secondary, which is pretty much what should be the standard in video games these days, to be honest. Sad to see that some games are still lagging behind with that sort of thing. But yeah, I think the weapons were done particularly well. There is a lot of customization for your character too. Well, maybe not when it comes to the design of your character, but what you're wearing. There is actually quite a lot you can do with your character, with how they look, different amount of camos you can put on your clothing, which I think look pretty damn cool. And there's like a lot of like Easter egg costumes from other Ubisoft games like The Division, Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell. So yeah, but they're just reminders of the other games, especially The Division, of how shit Ubisoft is. But yeah, you can also use the drone to tag targets to help out your teammates. Well, when you're using your AI teammates, you can like tag enemies, and then when you're ready yourself, you can have them engage against the enemies and then take them out. I particularly found this very useful, but I felt like at some points it made the game a bit too easy. But then again, considering how difficult the game got at some points, I'm kind of glad it was in there, and I just sort of just went with it. But when it came to the enemies themselves, the enemy AI definitely could have done with some improvements. They weren't particularly a big challenge, considering there's only 2 types of enemies in this game, which is the Cartel and Unidad. And the Unidad can just go fuck themselves. Unidad were always the worst kind of enemies in this game. Whenever you're trying to do something, when it came to stealthy, when you're doing something stealth-like, the Unidad would just fucking roll up and come out of nowhere and kick my fucking ass. It always annoyed the hell out of me whenever I had to fight them. But at least the Cartel weren't as much of a pain in the ass to fight against, since they don't bring in freaking numerous amounts of helicopters and vehicles just to piss you off. There is also a numerous amount of gadgets in this game too, ranging from mines, flashbangs, to C4, to normal frag grenades, to diversion lures, and stuff like that, which do mostly help. The C4 especially does help along with frag grenades when it comes down to clearing out large amounts of enemies, and the mines are good for when it comes to disabling vehicles, but some of the other stuff I didn't particularly need, like the flashbangs and the diversion lures. I didn't really need those, to be honest, because, I mean, I probably did, I just didn't use them, to be honest. But I think the gadgets were very useful. There is also like a sort of a tool wheel, where it comes to like, where you can use the rebels to help you out with either mortar support, spotting enemies in a certain area, a diversion team, a fire team support, or dropping off a vehicle for you. The vehicle, dropping off the vehicle option can be kind of glitchy considering where you are, because it doesn't always happen for me. It's like whenever I select a truck or an armored car, sometimes it doesn't always pop up, but whenever I select a helicopter, it always does. So it's kind of annoying considering that didn't work when I wanted it to most of the time, but everything else, all the other options worked out fine. And the thing is, you can upgrade these over time by doing the side missions as well. So the side missions do have some sort of usefulness, which is by completing them, you make the rebel stuff more stronger. And I would suggest doing this because, trust me, you're gonna need the friggin' rebel support at some points throughout the game, and it can be very useful. There is the world itself is huge. And I think the environments, it was pretty nice to see the different amount of environments in this game, ranging from like deserts, jungle, swamp, mountains, snowy mountains, to like even a salt flat, which was actually pretty cool. I actually liked the world in this game. It was actually pretty interesting going through the different areas that there was, and it made me like come up with different pretty fun designs for my character when it came to like camos and what I should wear and stuff like that. And it's also very helps out with the environment, considering when you want to hide from your enemies and stuff like that. Like sometimes some areas will be a lot more easier to hide from enemies, while others it won't be easy whatsoever, especially when it's on a salt flat, which there is nowhere to hide whatsoever. So you have to be very careful with what you're doing when it comes to taking out the enemy, and whether you can use the environment to help you out or not. Now the game is cooperable. It has the online capability, and because it's such a big game as well, it will take up a lot of time. So I would suggest playing this with a friend, because I played this game on my own and I got particularly bored pretty quickly. And yeah, and there's not even a multiplayer mode for this game too. But then again, I probably wouldn't even want to play the multiplayer for this game. Probably not. I don't know. So yeah, I particularly think that playing this game with a friend is certainly a necessity. Otherwise, you're just going to get bored pretty quickly. I pretty much played throughout the whole of this game just so I can, like, you know, do the reviews, because that's what I do. And so yeah, I really don't know what else to say with this game. I mean, I like the customization as a whole. Like I said, the customization was nice and diverse. The missions themselves, like the side missions vary. Like some were okay to do, some weren't. When it came to retrieving vehicles and deactivating antennas, they were sort of annoying, because as soon as your vehicle is dead, you have to restart it, and that can be annoying. And the antennas, there's like a time limiter to it, and unless you have a helicopter, then you're pretty much screwed. Some of the other side missions were pretty interesting, like the clearing out a building to hack a computer, ones where you just basically destroy stuff, or tag a convoy. I mean, those can be useful for when it comes to like gaining some of the materials for when it comes to unlocking the skills in this game, which is definitely a necessity, because you're going to need like stuff that's technical, medical, and some of the other stuff that there is to help out when it comes to acquiring your skills in this game, because you don't just have skill points to unlock the skills in this game. You also need to find supplies and materials so you can help yourself along the way to unlock this kind of stuff. So yeah, overall I think this game works. It's okay. It's just above average, I'd say, because a lot of this stuff, like I said, the story, there is no story for this game. It's completely and utterly bogus. There's just nothing for a story here. And yeah, even the ending, I just laughed my ass off because of how shit it was. But yeah, playing the game isn't really all that bad. I mean, the gameplay mechanics, the squad AI, the enemies themselves weren't particularly challenging, but were okay to fight against. Trying to map out your way through the areas to try and find a way in to get to an objective was pretty fun. The vehicle mechanics are completely shit whatsoever. There's no redeeming feature for the vehicle controls. The weapons, they worked fine most of the time. I liked the look of them, what they did. Maybe apart from the hit radius, that could definitely have done with some improvement. Customization was actually very well done. So yeah, and I liked the world. The world was particularly pretty good too, to be honest, compared to most other Ubisoft games. It's pretty nice to go to South America, not really a place you see a lot in video games, well, from my experience. So it's nice to actually go someplace that I don't really get to go to all that often. So yeah, overall I think this... Overall, I'm gonna give Ghost Recon Wildlands a 6 out of 10. So yeah, overall, Ghost Recon Wildlands is just another one of those, like, you know, sort of mediocre Ubisoft games. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I found it a little bit better than the Rainbow Six Vegas games, at least. It wasn't as bad as those two, or on par with the second one, or just above. But yeah, there was some fun to have with this game. The score would have been higher a little bit if you could play it with friends. Probably would have been at least a 6.5 or probably even a 7 if you could play with friends. But since I played it on my own, the score had to be that. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Leave a like down below, subscribe, comment what you think is right or wrong with the game, comment down below for other games you think I could do. I shall see you guys in the next random video.